Yo, what's going on, everybody? Just going to do another solo podcast in these incredible times. Oh my goodness, it's only going to heat up. We're in for some more stuff coming down the pipe. I'm going to start by just dinging these amazing chimes because they sound awesome, and why not? They just sound so dang good. Perfect sound, resonance. That's what we want, right? We want a better planet. I did a video that somehow got me banned from Instagram. I'm banned from Facebook. All my work gone. And one of the things in that video I said is that, I think we all want the same thing. And we got to understand it's not Biden versus Trump. It's a Democrat ideology versus a Republican ideology. Now, the Democrats, they have a different way that they want to bring about a better world. The Republicans have a different way that they want to bring about a better world. That's just their point of view, and that's why you argue, and that's why you have debates, and that's why you have discussions. But one of the frightening things that I see that's happening is the culling and the elimination of accounts, literally wiping them from the planet. So for me personally, I spent my life and the podcast, I set the intention to interview the most awakened, wise, beautiful teachers of service to humanity, to share the wisdom and stories to inspire you, to help you live a good life of virtue, kindness, understanding, support, build your dreams and all that kind of good stuff, peak performance, human optimization. And I got deleted, so that's nuts. And only because when the coronavirus happened, I've looked at things like, human trafficking and trying to bring awareness to the forced organ harvesting, aware of things like Rockefeller and medicine and food and Monsanto and all these systems. I was like, holy crap, why are there all these evil systems out there? How do we build a solution with all this crap? And so coronavirus happened, dig into that. But you can't talk about that. You get in big trouble. But what's been interesting is that the research that I've shared and done, and my colleagues and peers as well, Del Bigtree, who's been doing absolutely phenomenal work, the amazing Polly on YouTube, amazing, phenomenal work. They got deleted, just full on deleted. And so they were accurate the whole time. We were talking about 0.26% of the coronavirus back in April. And people got mad about that. We were talking about asymptomatic spread. Masks aren't as effective as they're saying. Sharing the psychological operations of torture, of social distancing, masking, and all these different things. This is just, it's a perspective. It's research. Always fact check everybody. But what's happening is people only do one layer deep, okay? So, with the news, you got to think about Operation Mockingbird. That's when the CIA was using the news to basically distort the truth. It's still happening today. In Canada, it's only one company that owns the mainstream media called I forget what it's called, but go to canucklaw.ca and they'll show you the report on that. And I found it was interesting. The video that I did a few days ago on Instagram that got me deleted, I predicted exactly what was going to happen during the election and what's happening now. And it happened. So what I said was I found some intelligence that was suggesting that the polls were going to stop on polling night. And then what's going to happen is the next day, they're going to announce Biden as the winner through all the media. Everybody's going to celebrate. But there's going to be different variations of voter fraud going on. And what happened was it was a day delay and then they announced it. So it's really interesting. So you got to look at, is it true? Is the voter fraud stuff true? Or is all this just like nonsense, right? Like I'm getting into the battle here. I just want to know what the truth is, right? Because the truth is important, I think. And so, I noticed the left again and all the people who want coronavirus and stuff like this. Not once since March has like somebody actually, well, a couple people have, but they don't look at like the post that I share is like, here's the evidence that coronavirus is 0.26%. Here's the evidence that it doesn't spread asymptomatically. Can you give me a rebuttal that says this is actually nonsense, Matt? This is actually better information. That is awesome. We both learn together that way because you're like, hey, Matt, here's better evidence that says it's the scariest thing. And it's like 90% death rate. I'll say, holy smokes, that's nuts. And you say, hey, Matt, actually, did you know if you, go to the gym and build your immune system, you're going to be more immune to the virus? You're like, oh, that's great. So, it's a two-way communication. But what's going on here is massive censorship, and it's not a two-way dialogue. So you know, I've done my own research, and I invite you guys to check out the Telegram group, and I'm going to answer a question specifically to the group, because I got censored everywhere, so I can kind of post what I want. And I think a two-way dialogue is so important. Even if they're polar opposite views, it's okay. It's okay to think that the Democrats and globalism and Bill Gates are great people. And you got to present that argument, though, because if on the other side you say, hey, well, here's evidence of Bill Gates' father being, what do they call it when they want to call the population? I think it's, I forget what the word is. Somebody will pop it in the comments for me. But it's like, oh, that's interesting. And then you find the money trail like Amazing Polly did between all the global health, she calls it the global healthcare mafia. And then you look at Rockefeller Medicine, and Corbett Report did a fantastic video on that, and also looking at the 1910 Flexner Report of where you kind of hijack modern medicine and you create the trillion-dollar pharmaceutical company. So there's a lot of information in there, and I'm kind of glossing it over, just ranting. So the bottom line here, my mom reaches out, my sister reaches out, and I've had discussions with people for the last few months. I said, this is what I think is going to happen. This is my hypothesis. I don't know. What's going to happen is, you know, they're going to stop the polls that night. Then the next day, the media is going to announce it as, you know, Biden's the winner. Now, the media doesn't call the election, right? And there has been time in American politics where, you know, it's been disputed, right? So, and again, I only know a little bit about politics. I hate politics. I'm concerned about the truth. What is the truth? You know, whatever the truth is just the truth. And how do we, beyond whatever, build a better world based on kindness, compassion, justice, peace? But, you know, if we're getting into communism, if we're getting into medical tyranny and chips in our arms and things like that, that's kind of frightening. So we should kind of look at that. Hold on one sec. My mom's calling. I'm going to have to call her back. So she's concerned, and so I'm kind of doing the video there. So basically, the election happened how a lot of people, and I'm not the only one, it's just the best information I saw, and I was like, oh shoot, it actually did happen. They announced Biden as the winner. There we go. Biden wins. Some people are really happy, some people are really disappointed. And then we see, oh, is there evidence for voter fraud? Well, there's a lot. There's like dead people apparently voting, right? There's a glitch in this machine putting votes to Biden, and so the important thing for the United States in general, that I can understand anyway, is that it's got to be the fair voting system. Whatever that case is, whoever the winner is, it's got to be fair and just, and all votes counted in a way, but not extra votes, not sketchy votes. It's got to be fair, because if that goes down, then you're going to be moving into communism and, what a lot of people are trying to escape, like what China has going on over there. Very, very sketchy stuff going on in China. And so what I think is going to happen, and my hypothesis is that, this is going to, and there's a psychological technique called priming the mind. And so they'll kind of say, oh, what if Trump doesn't leave office? Well, what if he doesn't? And it's like, will he have to be forcibly removed? They were talking about this date months ago, and this is in January, where his kind of term ends if he doesn't leave office. My concern is that you'll see foreign soldiers. So, they need to forcibly remove Trump from the office if it doesn't come back, all these legal battles, because they were ready for this. If I knew about it, the Republicans would have known about it. So they were planned, and they lawyered up, and they kind of saw it all coming. So some people have been saying that, the Republicans knew that this was coming, and they need to fight him in court, and that's where they can win the battle. Could be, I've seen a lot of evidence for that, right? The videos I've seen, firsthand accounts, the firsthand accounts of people witnessing voter fraud, like, why were the Republican representatives not allowed to view the ballots? That doesn't make any sense unless you're cheating, right? But the other thing is, too, got to remember, it's not Trump and Biden, or even Republican versus Democrat. It's like, it is in a way, but it's, we're coming to a head here. It's just a different ideology for what we all want to move forward to a better world. And so even if one ideology wins at that time, we can still supersede whatever is this overarching structure, if we decide as a people to take our power back and say, okay, that's your belief, how do we still work together anyways? How do we treat each other with kindness, compassion, and respect? And working a lot with the Native American communities, I think that their governance of the grandmothers and how they did it in respect for family and respect for community was so beautiful. We need some of those ancient teachings to come back, but we need to embody those as communities, and we need to ideally limit the government, because a lot of the evidence that I've seen that makes me concerned is Agenda 2030, ID2020.org. You can check that out. Strategic intelligence, which is the plan for the Build Back Better, globalist, chip in your arm type of stuff. It exists, and it's kind of terrifying, but we can still circumvent that. So what I think is going to happen is at January 20, if they're going to go through the legal battles, hopefully we'll find a clear winner, whoever the clear winner is, in however it honors the Constitution of the United States. Whoever the winner is, great. That's the person who's the winner. But we got to honor the law. And that's the thing. It's the media doesn't present the winner. The courts do, and somebody can put in here how the winner is made, because who knows? I'm learning as I go along, watching this madness. It's just wild, and I'm up in Canada, so who knows? Again, I just want to know what the truth is, and I want to help people live a good life, and people are really concerned. So someone was asking me in the Telegram group, how do we build a better world, right? We're seeing this play out, right? But obviously our thoughts and our emotions and our inner state creates our outer state, right? So I do believe in that. And I also believe, I believe that we can influence reality, but I think that there is a greater force beyond what we can control, right? We're going to experience some things that we might not prefer. And so the first thing that I would say to that question is, like, how do we focus on the world that we want, which is like, for some people it's like Atlantis. It's like this free energy, cooperation, like they talk about in Thrive 2. Where are the solutions for free energy, right? That's a lot. We want free energy. We want cooperation. We want a better life. We want strong immune systems, right? All these different things. So the first thing is, it's how we're going to handle what we're observing. So I would limit all of the play that's happening. There's only so much that we can kind of engage with out there. If you look at social media, I don't think this is even close to over. People keep telling me, some people say the word sheep, and I thought about it in a new way. And I was like, they're not concerned with what's happening. They don't look at that. They're just focused on their own life and trying to keep it going the same way, but they have no idea what's kind of going on in the bigger scale. And for me, I've just been curious about those systems and scales and things that influence, like, why do we have starvation? Man, we're really concerned with the coronavirus that's, oh yeah, and that's apparently killed this many people, but they had 2.6 existing comorbidities, and people aren't dropping dead in their homes. So there's something going on there, but we don't care about human trafficking, and we don't care about 9.1 million people starving to death with the solution being food. So that to me doesn't make any sense. There's something there. And so part of this thing too, which I've kind of been watching play out, is like, they're saying it's Trump's fault all these people died, or the Republicans' fault. Well, Sweden remained open, right? So now Biden becomes this savior of the coronavirus, and all the vaccine companies come out, and Bill Gates is all excited about it. Maybe that's because it leans towards potentially going toward a globalist agenda. And I did see a video of Biden talking about the New World Order, like, we need a New World Order. This was an old video. I don't know if there's one of him recently saying that, but the Bushes said that. I'm not really a fan of the New World Order. There's also a video of and maybe it's going to be awesome. Maybe the New World Order is just so good. I don't know. Maybe I'm just resisting something that's totally great. I'm just kicking and screaming, and they're going to put a chip in my arm, and it's going to be equal, and nobody's going to, overstretch their power, and they're going to just empower me to be free and live an amazing life. I don't know, but I don't think so. I'd prefer to try and make it on my own. But yeah, so part of this narrative is like Biden is the savior of the coronavirus. Like, we haven't heard anything about the coronavirus since the election. Biden, everyone's getting together on the streets, and that's fine now from the media. But before, Black Lives Matter, also fine, but anybody who supports the Republicans and that ideology, not fine. So there's a lot of discrepancies here of what's going on, which is a bit nuts. So how do we build that better world? Well, first we gotta be able to handle this in our own family, in our own community. So taking care of yourself, clean food, clean water, clean diet, clean exercise, being able to handle this stress, limiting social media, all of it, limiting, your Twitter feed, limiting all of that. Most of social media, most of people got blocked. They went to the underground of Telegram. It's exploded. So find me over there, search Matt Belair. I can link you into a bunch of other groups. And these are just people who want to know the truth. The truth rises. Like when you have a debate, one side is better than the other. Just like in martial arts, right? The beginning of the UFC was to see which fighting was the best, right? Is it boxing? A boxing would kill a jiu-jitsu guy. Jiu-jitsu's worthless. Well, Hoist Gracie whooped everybody, right, with his jiu-jitsu. So now everybody does jiu-jitsu because it's like, nah, man, that jiu-jitsu is good. You test it. So you got to test your knowledge. And so anybody that can present me better information, great, because I only know a tiny bit of a tiny bit, and that could be totally wrong and misinformation and all that kind of stuff. And again, applying the formula for truth, which I've been talking about a lot recently, which is, okay, basically, we only have one perception. I've only lived in my body, seen the things that I've seen, and think the things that I think. That's just one. Well, you have your own perception. You've seen the things that you've seen and all that kind of stuff. So what I do is I honor your perspective and I say, why? Why do you believe that? What's the best evidence? And I just seek understanding, right? So it's just like, the Democrats are going to make the world a better place. And someone's like, no, the Republicans are going to make the world a better place. Or Trump versus Biden, right? If we really want to get into it, because it's like, Trump is evil. It's like, it's not just Trump. It's the whole entire group of people who believe in those ideologies, and they're more around freedom and limited government, and the Democrats are a little bit more leaning towards more government and and obeying authority, kind of, in a very small micro scale, and people can kind of debate all that stuff that they want. So all we got to do is say, okay, why do you believe that? Why do you think that will be a better world? And we open up to their view. So if it's 0 and 90 degrees, right? Truth is somewhere in the middle, right? You've got your perspective of globalism and why chips are good and why the vaccines are good and why masks work. And I say, okay, what's the best evidence that masks work? What's the best evidence that coronavirus is so deadly? What's the best evidence that we should stand 6 feet away and just obey and not question things? Or, what's the best evidence if you have this? And now what happens, what I've experienced anyway, is that when I'm having these discussions since March, the people who are trying to sell me that view and present it to me, they're not going very deep in their knowledge. So it's very surface. They might go, hey, I got this from a mainstream media outlet and I believe them. That's square. And then they will, if I present something back, they go as far as Snopes, and then they stop there. And I was like, well, do you know about the funding? Who funds them, right? And then present other information. And those who have been willing to listen, it's 100%. Wake up, 100%, holy smokes, I didn't know that. I didn't know about this and this and this and this and this. Wow, holy smokes, I've kind of changed my view. So now what do we do? What do we do when we have that new information? And so, just honoring the information, because it changes. And the other thing with the formula for truth is that information evolves, right? So you get a new piece, right? And as you put it on the weights and scales, right? So you think about the law, weights and scales, right? Those balancing scales. And so it's just like, okay, well, for me, and I know what I've posted since March, it's been probably 98% accurate, the whole time. And so I'm like, wow, if I keep predicting these things from the information that I'm getting, I can be reasonably certain that it's quality information, and it could be totally wrong. That's the other thing. It seems like one side of people is okay with being wrong and adapting to it, and the other side, from what I've noticed since the beginning, and we're seeing this now, is I posted something about, hey, like, there is good solid evidence of election fraud, and I posted real world accounts with real sketchy things that, and everyone's like, oh, so salty, blah blah blah, and all they do is ridicule and shame and guilt and just be total butts. And that's not helpful, right? They could say, oh, you know what? That's a fake video because of this. And like, oh, great, thanks, boom, throw that out the window. So what happens is there's no two-way discussion, and there's no really seeking knowledge and understanding. So we got to kind of look at, again, how do we make a better world out of all this? And I think the first thing is taking care of yourself, your family, your own mental health, your own physical health, in your small little bubble. Being the example that you want to be. So being kind, being compassionate, being tolerant, applying the formula for truth, seeking understanding. But that doesn't mean you need to acquiesce to tyranny. And that's where I kind of like get into the little bit of the martial arts battle zone of people just going too far. I do think that you can go too far, and you need to stand your ground for protection of what you believe at the same time. And so we can also take this time to reflect on what does it mean to live in a beautiful, free world. Decide what that is and just spend some time thinking about that, finding community who believes the same thing and has the same values. And so again, just my observation is that, you know, from the groups that I'm in and been talking about the coronavirus and some of these bigger picture things with verifiable evidence, this group is like open to being wrong, and they're also open to, you know, bringing people in. It's like, no, like, come on in. And the other side is like, you know, I've had good friends, I've had, you know, random people, just so much like hate. And I was like, why just discuss the topic that I'm sharing, you know, like, yeah, you could just discuss the topic. So, so how do we build a better world? Well, I love Michael Lozier's teachings. One of my original mentors, he wrote a book, The Law of Attraction, and how do we, The Law of Attraction. He sold millions of copies. I'm just going to ding these chimes because I'm getting all heated. Just going to chime it up. Perfect sound, perfect resonance, perfect harmony. And what do we got in the world? We got disharmony. Lots of stuff is going on, and you know, some of it is not looking good. So what I've told people and friends and family, if it goes south, if it goes kind of like the way that's not ideal, it's globalism, it's a chip in your arm, it's forced vaccines. There's evidence for that. That's just what it is, and that's the plan. That's the New World Order plan. Just what it is. You can find the evidence. If you don't think so, you probably don't know what's going on. Just like, you know, my friends giving me crap, even with the, you know, I had one good friend. He's like, oh, it's impossible that there's voter fraud. I was like, really? I was like, what do you think about these like 6 videos and like really hard evidence? Like, that's hard evidence. You got to dispute each one. And if you can, great, no problem. But there's definitely evidence to be looked at. So, and same with the coronavirus stuff. You know, anyone who's kind of tried to sell me like, oh no, this is fine, we need to social distance. Like, I knew it wasn't going to be 2 weeks. I said, we're going to have the first lockdown, then we're going to have a little bit of a gap, which we have now. Then we're going to have a second lockdown, but this has to do with the election. I was like, all this has to do with the election. And then if they can't win fairly, they're going to cheat. And then they're going to try to remove them from the White House through a coup and potentially foreign military. I hope it's not China. I don't know yet how that's going to play out, but I do think there's going to be something going on at that time, and people are going to remain divided. And I've found, like, again, the other side just trying to explain, hey, have you seen this? What do you think about that? Here's some very solid evidence, you know, like even with the Hunter Biden stuff, you know, I was like, that's pretty compelling, you know, because they were talking about Trump. And, you know, I'll say this too, when Trump first got elected, I don't care about politics. I laughed. I was like, that's hilarious. I was like, I think it's a good thing because it's just so funny. I don't know. I didn't know about Hillary Clinton. I didn't know about Pizzagate. I didn't know about all the stuff that she's done. I didn't know about, you know, any of that stuff. I didn't know about, you know, deep into what the Bushes have done and deep into what Obama's done. But I started to look into that. I was like, holy smokes, like, look at that. So I don't know. I was kind of getting distracted because it's not what I prefer to focus on. But how do we create a better world if we're kind of experiencing oppression? How do we create a better world when it's not safe to share your opinion? How do we create a better world when there's mass censorship? How do we create a better world when it's not safe for me to believe the opposite of what you do because I'm going to get in trouble? And I even saw something about, I don't know who it was on the left, basically like, we need to figure out who supported Trump so we can go get him. You know, like that's what, you know, Stalin did. You know, you find the people who supported the other side. That's not a democracy, right? And so they're just, you know, you got to think about ideologies, and no matter what your ideology is, you got to respect the human on the other side. And how do you know? I've been saying this since the beginning. How do you know if you're on the side of oppression and tyranny? It's when your ideology, the other person or group of people must obey it. They must obey that. You infringe on their freedom. So the first freedom is, why do you think in the Constitution it's the freedom of speech and assembly? That's the first basic freedom. We need to have that. And what we're going to experience now in the States, my view is, the mainstream media, look up Operation Mockingbird, is corrupt, and people just believe it. They just believe whatever they say. And this is why so many independent news sources have so much more views than the mainstream media. It's not even comparable. Joe Martino, a friend of mine who recently got deleted, again, Collective Evolution, 5 million fans, huge outreach. He gets deleted and wiped off. He said, a couple of years ago, he just watched the stats come up, right? And he's like, we became so much bigger than the mainstream that they had to figure out the algorithms to limit that, because people started to realize, wait, something's not going on here. They're not giving me the whole clip. This is propaganda. I can't get the whole story. Who's giving me the whole story? And so Epoch Times is doing some really great research. A lot of independent people, like I said, Amazing Polly, Del Bigtree, people just want to know the whole story and the truth so that they can make up their mind. And not everybody's got the time to, listen to all that, right? So they just kind of, believe what they're told, and that's that. So no matter what happens, I think we're going to be able to get through this. I know we're going to be able to get through this. There's always going to be an opportunity to make the right choice. We might all have to face that for ourselves, whatever that may be. This is a big transition to look at how we make our living, what kind of people we are, who we want to be. I can see this happening, and many other people can see it happening too. I was in Cambodia and, understood the Khmer Rouge, and they, friends and family got pitted against each other. And, the ones who sided with Pol Pot, the ones who sided with the government, and not freedom, they got their heads chopped off by friends and family. And that's what's happening now. And so, you're just going to decide who you want to be. And so the people who really just want freedom, and they really want truth, and they want transparency, right? We should all want that, and respect the other person's view, no matter what it is. And have your friend over for dinner, even if it's a polar opposite view. And, be the example that you want to be in the world. And, one of the teachings from my Native American teacher, David Lombear, is to do 3 kind acts a day. Go out of your way to do it. Don't tell anyone. To go back to Michael Lozier and my rant, we talk about the law of attraction. And he said, well, a really great way to know what you want is to know what you don't want. And so let's say you go on a date with somebody and it's a terrible date, and everybody's like, oh, it's the worst date you've ever had. They didn't hold the door open. They were rude, blah, blah, blah. So you write all those things down, check, 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 check. And then you say, so what do you want? So you focus on the thing you want. So they didn't hold their door open. So you scratch it off and then just say, what do I want? I want them to be courteous. They were rude. What do I want? I want them to be kind-hearted and funny. And so if we do that for the world, let's write down all the things that you're seeing that you don't want. So, the whole thing about the Black Lives Matter movement is really about oppression of people, right? The Black Lives movement really isn't about, they don't talk about the Native American communities very much, which needs to be talked about. We don't talk about the 9.1 million people who are starving to death on this planet every year, right? So we need to talk about that. We don't talk about people under oppression in China and having their organs forcibly removed, right? These are crazy things. We don't talk about that. And so if we write those things down and okay, oppressed people, right? The opportunity to grow, thrive, have education, clean food, clean water, and an opportunity to expand and thrive for all people. Great. Let's write that down. Then we want, renewable energy sources. Okay, great. Let's write that down. We want culture tolerant of other people's opinion without destroying free speech. Okay, let's write that down. And so whatever it is in the world, just kind of, focus on that positive thing. And now is a really important time to master your own practices. So I recommend journaling, some spiritual practice, pray, lots and lots of prayer, taking care of your body, getting out in nature. From the beginning, the prediction was first wave, kind of chill, and you'll notice that a lot of the deaths will be inflated, which they were. That's easy to figure out. And, I can send you some links if you want, but that's really, easy to figure out. Little bit of a gap, which we got now, and then second wave a lot worse. But this all has to do with the U.S. election, because they want to bring you need to bring the United States under the UN, UN 2030. And this is some globalism stuff, and it's just what it is. And so you need somebody that wants to be a globalist to bring the United States under. One of the problems with the United States in doing that, problems that they would face, Kennedy did a report on this as well, is that they have a strong middle class that's getting wiped out right now through this, and the Constitution. So the Second Amendment is obviously an issue. So that's, being addressed right now. And so now what they're doing, I think anyways, they're propping up Biden to be the savior of the coronavirus, right? And Trump is killing all the people, or the Republicans, because they want their freedom, right? But it's, if you actually look at the evidence and stuff like that, it's super nonsensical. And we got people wearing hazmat suits and all kinds of crazy stuff for something that has a 0.26 death rate. And unfortunately, the scary part from what I've seen in the beginning is, in the second wave, they said you're going to see people drop dead. I hope that this isn't true. It could be from the 5G. If I can't say that, right? Because then I'm probably going to be here for a short time anyway, because they banned me everywhere else. So if you are watching this, follow me on Telegram, sign up for the email list, because all the work has been gone, and I just want to know what the truth is. And I do still want to live in a better world, and I see oppression and tyranny happening, and I'm just trying to kind of sound the alarm and put out a flag for, hey, who is up for freedom and tolerance and building a better world, and kindness and compassion and community, and allowing diversity and different points of view, but also truth. And whatever the truth is, that's just what it is. But we need to be open to hearing and understanding people's points of view, and having open debates, because we all have a different philosophy. And that's what's going on here, is we have these different points of view on how to build a better world, because deep down, most of us are good people, but the thing is, most everyday people don't understand that they're really evil people in this world too. And a lot of those evil people run big systems, and they do not have your best interest at heart. They want to rule you. And again, look at the millions of people being ruled in China, forced organ harvesting, if you know anything about human trafficking. So we see all these things in the world, and how do we create better solutions? I'm open to anyone's opinion on that, because I honestly don't know. But I think that we can be the example, and we have to learn how to keep high states of being, even though we see this coming out in the world. And I can't remember, I think it was Edward Miller that was on my podcast. And I was like, how do I deal with this, knowing some of these injustices and things happen, but how do I handle that emotionally? Because I feel it emotionally, when I see all this oppression and stuff happening, when I see a 2-year-old being masked, that really bugs me. And so he said, be aware of it, but don't wear it. Like, don't wear it energetically. And I think about the serenity prayer, like, give me the strength and courage to know what I can change and know what I can't. So to remain a high vibe, to keep looking for solutions, to pray, to find community who is wanting to build solutions, no matter whatever they may be, because these underground communities of people that have all got wiped off, they're amazing. They're amazing people, and they all want the same thing. I was like, yeah, we don't need much. Like, my buddy Shore, he's supposed to be coming back on the show. He's a very fascinating dude. He's been underground. He's like, no, don't worry. He's like, we've got the whole map out for like tiny home communities. Like these, he's like, I'm 60 years old, man. I can't be, in this crappy little tiny house. He's like, but we've got the engineering to make it awesome, so we can bust out these little communities and have the energy and have all the things that we need, like the communal spaces, and to thrive, but also with minimalist living too. So, I hope that we start to hear from our Native American teachers, these ancient teachers, anybody out on the planet. I am not the best representative. There's people who are so much more knowledgeable than me that can speak, and that's who I'm putting the call out to these ancient teachers, to these leaders of the world who really want to lead in a positive way. Because if you look at the leaders, and you peel back the curtains of the World Health Organization, you peel back the curtains of Fauci, you peel back the curtains of Bill Gates, you peel back the curtains of unfortunately Biden, and a lot of the Democrats and what they did, and of Hillary Clinton, and of all these people, and even just like politics in general, like Justin Trudeau. It's like, why the hell in Australia too? with one of the former prime ministers being basically hard evidence that he's a pedophile and involved in crazy pedophile things. Why does it always go there? It's like, oh my God damn it. So you just got to peel back the layers and say, okay, you know what? That's the person who is doing that. Okay, great, right? That's out of my world. But how do I change that within my own world and my own community? Because on a day-to-day basis, got to remember, if you're watching this, this is fake. I'm fake in your reality. This is like, you're taking your attention and you're looking at a screen. So you can take your attention and get out in the forest. You know what I mean? Take your attention and get out in the community. And I think that we need to limit our screen time. Social media detox, some positive vibes. I feel like with what I'm putting out, I was like, holy crap, I'm getting way too political. But it's like, I also really want to know the truth. And a lot of people are asking me these questions and I'm just staring at the computer trying to, piece it all together. So I kind of know what I'm talking about. And a lot of the groups that I'm in, like I said, I predicted the election thing that's going on. It's going to go down. The next check mark is, Trump, when he's either elected fairly through the courts, or or Biden wins fairly through the courts, but it is the courts that will decide that. It's not the media. And whoever the winner is the winner. And you already see these things change with, I've noticed an immediate switch in the vaccine agenda and that kind of stuff. So, oh man, I don't know. This is wild, but we'll be all right. I think that this is going to kind of be a slow burn. I think they said the second wave is going to be worse and 2021 is going to be worse. So we'll see. But I do believe in a greater spiritual force. When you look at the sidewalk and you see like in that crack, there's a piece of grass growing up, that's life, spirit, God, nature, the universe. That's the thing that's growing. And that's what we all have, right? That's what we all have, but we got to understand where we are as a human culture and what's going on this planet. We need to rise to the service, right? Because if you're in Canada, if you're in the United States, if you're in Europe, we've had a degree of freedom that other people don't have. We're definitely a slave to the financial system and all these other things. So it's kind of slavery at the same time, if you really understand it, but it's more opportunity than most. And so if we can bring these things up to the surface and see these systems that we have in place are not working, they're not life affirming, as Walter Russell would say. We need to create life-affirming, sustainable cities and living. This really starts with education. It really starts with a high-quality human being. And so right now, I think a lot of us are really exercising tolerance and patience. And if you notice people's characters, just do your best not to fall into that negative character. Because with all the stuff that I've been dealing with, it's like I really want to kind of go into the battle mode character and be like, just got to lay it on. But I was like, that's not the character that I want to be. And, I'm so constantly reminded of what happened to Socrates. I keep wanting to write this article about why the coronavirus would have killed Socrates first. Well, Socrates was put to death because he denounced the gods of the time. And he was quote unquote, disrupting the minds of the youth, with his nonsense. So, that's basically what I'm doing now. That's what a lot of other people are doing. They're just questioning. That's all they're doing. They're just questioning things. And this has been happening for years and years and years. There's some people who question and investigate, and other people who just, it's not something they want to concern themselves with. They just are like, it is what it is. And so coronavirus would have killed Socrates first, because he would have been like, wait a second, who's making these legislations, right? Oh, it's you. Okay, it's this panel of people. And then he would investigate them, and then is like, hey guys, did you know that it's actually, I don't know, Bob, and Bob is doing this, and he would just tell you, and they're like, oh my goodness. So I don't know, it's a ridiculous analogy. I'm just ranting. It's mostly nonsense. So I hope this was helpful, but yeah, they would have put Socrates to death first because he just questioned things, right? They put him to death, and he questioned the gods of the day. So we should be able to question if you're ridiculing people, if their opinion is not safe, if you don't look at their evidence, right? It's like nobody ever gives me any damn evidence on the other side. They just, and if they did, it was like Snopes. I was like, okay. But I looked at it still, though. I look at all of it and I'm like, all right, well, yeah, put it on the weights and scales. But, a lot of people are really experiencing tough cognitive dissonance. And I think this is going to be an interesting ride. So buckle up. We're going to the courts. It's going to be in the courts. And then something's going to happen when, Trump is not going to leave office, I don't think, unless he unless he is satisfied with the legal proceedings. But it's not just Trump, it's the Republicans, all the elected publicans, all of those individuals. They demand justice, just like the Democrats. They want justice too. But there is a way from the Constitution on how an election is run, and that's how it's going to be fought for, and that's what the Republicans right now are fighting for. And maybe it is like this good versus evil, and if I'm like, picking the side of truth, I just want to know what the truth is, and if there's cheating, well, I just want to know if there's cheating. If there's no cheating, great. And I just want a fair election, because the States is like, this beacon of hope right now in the world. Communism is this terrible, China is this terrible, awful thing that I'm aware of, that I'm like, oh God, I don't want that here. In Canada, Justin Trudeau is the worst. And so again, how do I create an opportunity for my family, my daughter and my community, my friends and the people out there to live a good life, and want to keep that. So, personally, what I'm doing is, I'm working on the things that make me happy. I'm limiting my screen time as much as possible, even though I'm probably doing way too much research, hurting my eyes. But the prediction now that I'll give, and probably this one will get erased too, who knows, but it's going to be a huge court battle. You're going to see lots of shenanigans, lots of division. Do your best not to divide, if you can, and be a kind and compassionate person. Be tolerant to someone's point of view. Listen to their evidence. Just be the example that you want to be. Figure out, where can you provide help? Where can you provide solutions? What can you do that actually is supportive and helpful and meaningful? Think about that. And I feel like all of us are going to be given those opportunities. And I think that some people are going to be given bigger opportunities to oppress than if what you're doing is going out there is guilting and shaming. And I'm reminded, like right now, is I have one buddy, play hockey in the video games, and there's certain people that you can play with and certain people you can't. So one of my buddies who play hockey, and if I'm beating him, it's always like, oh man, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And then if he's beating me, it's the worst. He's just like, you suck, blah, 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 eat that. And I just like, this is not fun. This is not fun at all. So like, in the second period, if I'm winning like 3-0 or something, I'll just kind of let up in the third. And then he just gets a goal. He's like, yeah, he's such an ass. And then gets another one. He's like, just sticks it to me. And then he wins. And he's just like, you suck. He's just giving me the gears. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. I swear to God. And so, but I just let him win. And, but there's a time right now, I think that this is a righteous battle. For me, it seems like a righteous battle of good and evil. If you look at the episode I did with Cal Washington about the courts and how they're run, about how high level systems, that's what's going on here. And so some people are really just wanting to maintain the integrity of the Constitution, and the Democrats should want that too. They should be aware of how that works. Everybody in the United States, everybody in the world even should want that. Just, what does the Constitution say about an election? Did we follow those guidelines? Because there's so much shady stuff. And how did so many people predict this happened? Now, one of the things I heard, let's get some just times, because I'm ranting. I'm not allowed to do Instagram Live anymore because they deleted me, because I predicted exactly what was going to happen on the election, I guess, and they didn't want proof of that. I don't know. So some people said it has to go to courts. This is a battle, right, between truth and justice. Guess what else? If the Republicans were to win, Hillary would have to go to trial too about all the deleted emails. Then we got Hunter Biden stuff with real verifiable, like first person testimony. That's some solid evidence to me. This Bobulinski guy, that's some solid evidence with emails and video and transcript and all that. That's really solid evidence. The Russiagate stuff, if you know what happened to Trump behind the scenes, pretty intense, man. Like that, but how come they didn't find any good solid evidence there? Because if they could have, they would have found it. But maybe he's the devil incarnated. I don't know. Maybe he is, that. So what I think is going to happen, and I see this play out, they're going to play it out that, Trump is Hitler, and there's already the Nazi Germany references and all that kind of stuff. And so that's what they would like to do, as far as the psychological operations and I'm also very curious about psychological operations. Normally I don't have to talk about it though. And so that's what they're going to do. But the interesting thing is, like, do you want to, are you a Nazi? Are you, you know, it's like everyone started out Nazi, like it's crazy. Like, are you a Nazi? Well, guess what the Nazis did? The Nazis oppressed, okay? The Nazis wouldn't want a free and fair election. The Nazis would want to impose their view on other people, and they would want to limit free speech. So what are you doing? You know, are you like, you can't talk, you know, be quiet, you suck, you know? It's like, or is this like, hey, tell me why, you know, like, um, you know, the thing about Trump being racist, I was like, all right, so, you know, it's and someone got so mad. It's like, oh, are you kidding me? Like, I was like, they're like, Trump is the most racist. I was like, well, show me the evidence you have. They didn't send any evidence. So if you have it, you can send it. And if he's the most racist, that's fine. But I saw the crime bill by Biden that locked up nonviolent criminals for like 30 years, destroyed, you know, a lot of you know, black communities through that. Kamala Harris fought to keep people in jail. Not that's what they did as far as their policy. Trump actually did a bill refuting that, so that seems like supportive to the black communities. There's also a clip of Biden saying, "If you don't vote for me, you ain't black." Like that seems pretty racist to me. Imagine if Trump said that. Oh my God. So it has nothing to do with Trump or Biden. This is with two ideologies. You're welcome to have your ideology. Ideally, your ideology doesn't require the submission of another person. That's just my own 2 cents. I if I'm backed up, I probably would fight for my freedom, and I'm going to fight for the freedom of all people and also truth. And I'm going to keep looking for solutions. And you know, my prediction is this is going to be intense. You know, this is going to ramp up. I've been hoping for the best, praying for the best, but I think we're going to have a very interesting winter. We're going to see a lot more stuff coming up. Get over to Telegram. You know, communication. Also in war, you got to understand this. They limit communications. So why have they limited Green Med info? All these people have been accurate. Dell Bigtree. You can't find that info, and that's what they do in China. You can't even have YouTube. If you have YouTube, you can go to jail, and when you're in jail, you have no rights, and so they can take your organs, and they've been doing this for 20 years. Forced organ harvesting, killing people, and the whole thing with too. There's so many touchy subjects. What's that other one? Abortion. So I didn't know much about abortion. I was always for a woman's right to choose, and I am for a woman's right to choose because it's their body. But also understanding like there's actually some really crazy stuff out there about abortions and what they're doing to those fetuses and like what they look like and the market for it, like the finances, and it's like some really disgusting stuff out there. So that matters too. So it's like, okay, we need to like kind of limit, like, I don't know what the legislation should be for that, but like a lot of people saying like, you know, late term abortion, like, you know, then you're like doing stuff with the fetuses. It's some sick stuff. So I don't want to talk about that. So be brave. You know, go back to the videos where I'm talking to people about being in a simulation. What an amazing simulation. Get your connection with spirit. That's key to this. Your connection with God, truth, spirit. So key. Check out Soul Compass course. Please follow me off this. Join the email list, mattbelair.com. I'm going to do the best to connect you to information, to good community, to resources, to collaboration. But there's going to be, you know, Noah's Ark might be just a community. Be like, okay, like these guys want forced vaccinations, hazmat suits, and oppression. And we're just going to build some crap over here, and we just don't want that. And those people are, they're already there. That community is huge. And I think what's happening with this, because the globalist takeover and what's going on is so obvious for anybody willing to look at any kind of evidence. It's irrefutable, obvious evidence. It's just bringing more and more and more and more people, just tilting the tides over to truth and justice and freedom. So I'm confident. And even if the globalists win, good luck. Good luck enforcing your globalism on the American people. Good friggin' luck, man. They're like, You'll see so much of resistance. It'll be awesome. You've got all these people saying, leave me alone. I don't want forced vaccinations. And they have all the guns and they have all the weapons and they have all the things. And they keep saying to go away. And if you're not going to keep going away, eventually, like, there's going to be an issue. But that's what they want. They want to have this fight. So the first problem is going to be if people want to impose that on other people, they're going to like, they're going to come to your house in wearing a costume, whatever that might be, and try to round up the Jews from back in the day, but now it's going to be the anti-vaxxers. And if you don't think you're on the side of oppression, if you're rounding up people's house and you think that should be a good thing, and you think the concentration camps, which they're building right now, and yes, they are concentration camps, they only have them in times of war and oppressing people, not for the goodness and health of all, you're on that side. That's just what it is. So we got this. Good people out there. Keep the faith. Be strong. Build up your health. Take care of your community. There will be solutions. Use this as a time of transformation. Think about your livelihood. Right livelihood is so important right now. And being true and honest is so important right now, because I think we're about to get into the business. And maybe it'll be better. I hope so. I hope it'll turn the curve to better. No matter what way that is, and no matter what's happening that's out there, focus on your inner world. No matter what's happening out there, I highly recommend Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. That's helpful at these times. One that's been helpful for me is the Bhagavad Gita talks about Arjuna going to war against his community, and that seems very fitting to what's going on now. But the truth will always win. The light will always win. It has to. It's way more powerful. Like that analogy, one candle can light up a darkened room, and one candle can light 1,000 other candles without diminishing its own life. That's what we're going on right now. And I know so many people have reached out to me saying, I'm afraid to speak up. This is terrible. I'm afraid. And you should be, because you get deleted, and they mess with your livelihood. So that's why I need help. If you guys can help, if there's anybody out there, you want to volunteer time, I have all these amazing programs I want to kind of get out. There's a lot of stuff I want to do, but I do it all myself. So I got to really export some of this work so I can build, redo Zen Athlete, finish the quantum heart hypnosis, which is epic. That's coming soon. Soul Compass is awesome. I'm going to build this new program around fear, bringing in, stuff from Zen Athlete. This is all the stuff that I was talking about pre-corona virus. It's just like, I also knew about all this other stuff from psychological operations, manipulation. I'm just curious about that stuff. And so I'm just trying to tell people, like, this is, fake. That's fake news. That's manipulation. That's how, and that's just what I'm trying to expose. And that's how I've been able to predict a lot of this stuff accurately, just because I'm interested in it. If you know how to build a home or whatever, or, if you're a chef, right? Like, that's the whole thing. Is the main issue with psychological operations is it requires fear and emotion, right? You do an amygdala hijack. You're in emotion. You're not receiving new information. Your brain is literally shut off to new information. You're stuck in that state, which is not ideal to be in. And so it requires fear, and it requires manipulation and ignorance and all that kind of stuff. And on the other side, when you're fearless, when you're looking at new information, you can process it. It doesn't mean you're not afraid of it. It means you don't get stuck in that state of being. It means that you can kind of go beyond it. And so there's going to be opportunities for good, but we might be dealing with some baloney. So don't worry. A lot of good people out there, amazing people. Check out Telegram. We're going to be all right. So no matter what, this is interesting times. Just be the example that you want to be. If you have any questions for me, let me know. I barely know what I'm talking about. I'm just showing a little bit of the information that I'm coming across. If you've got better information, lay it on me. If you're laying blanket statements and like doing all this kind of stuff, that's a sign of like an oppressor. That's what that is. You know what I mean? It's not debating the context of the evidence or what's going on. Children's health events with Robert Kennedy, he's doing great stuff. He doesn't, I don't think he likes Trump because of the environmental stuff, but I still like Robert Kennedy, and I agree with the environmental stuff. I don't like that either. But there's also this other stuff. And I don't think Trump or Biden or the Republicans or the Democrats are the solution. I think it's the people, the individuals, and living with a higher integrity. I've never thought that politics was the way to go. I never think it's, a new leader that's going to save us. We, the people, have to save us. And we're just witnessing a show that we're all forced to watch because this is nuts. But we should want truth in that show. And we should want the most ideal systems, and to be the best example of what we want to see in the world. I don't know. I'm just talking nonsense. So this has been fun. I hope it's been helpful. I'm not sure if it has been, but I think we're going to be okay. But we're into it. This is court litigation, just what it is. The courts will decide the winner through fair, just ballots. This was planned. I called this out. I said the media is just going to, project them the win. And interesting too. That's how you know it's globalist, because all the other countries, are like, yay Biden, yay Biden. But then all the independent media that I watch, they're all for Trump. So what's going on there? It's, because I watch them both. I watch the CNN, I watch all these other things, and they're like, oh, Biden is going to cure the coronavirus and he's the freedom for peace and all that. Maybe he is, but it's like, I was like, this is pretty obvious baloney, it's, they do that in communist crazy countries, like, oh, the savior, the guy is coming up and he's Biden's so strong, he's curing coronavirus. Never mind all the other stuff. That's never mind all that other. Don't look there. Don't look at that other stuff. So we're in for it. And even if no matter what, we're gonna be all right. I hope anyway. I hope I am keeping the faith. I am having fun. I'm going outside as much as I can, bringing comedy into my life, truth, collaboration, trying not to take it seriously the best that I can, and going to be looking for solutions. How do I help you? So if you guys are struggling with anything in particular, you want my help, if there's anything I can do with my work to support you, please let me know. I will do that. And just appreciate you guys. Definitely sign up for the email list. I'm moving everything into the academy. So the academy, you can do a Patreon type of deal. So you can pay $0 if you want, or $1 to help. I'm going to keep going as long as I can, because again, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm going to get deleted everywhere, and you won't see this, and you probably won't. A lot of the other videos that I did, just trying to share the information, all gone. And so bringing it all in house. So I invite you with me. You can pay $0, or you can chip in $1 if you want, or $5 or $10. The most I got is $50. Thank you for that. $50 a month. That's awesome. I was like, frig yeah, thank you. And that was recent. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, we're all in different spaces, but it would be great to keep the show going and keep engaging and figuring out how to do this. I had a background in marketing and stuff like that, but I just did the podcast, and the podcast takes so much time and effort and is the highest value to others, but it doesn't give me time to do the courses and do the business stuff and do the marketing that creates the monies. But now that I got a little tiny baby that always wants to eat, she always wants to eat, and she's so cute. She's such a cute little butt. And I love her so much, and she's so fun. So I got to be an adult. I'm 36 now, so trying to be an adult and do adult things in crisis times. The neighbors' kids, they think I'm a big kid, and I've had that quite a few times. But my goal, my intention is to serve the highest good, to live as honorably as I can, to seek the truth, to support others is my own code. Doing it the best way I know how, which is pretty ugly, pretty like just doing my best. Definitely not perfect, don't know everything, but we're in some crazy times and just want to do what I can to support you and the community. And so we can do this together. We're going to do it together no matter what. So even if Trump comes in and he turns out he's a dictator and he brings in the new world order, and you're like, oh my God, Trump is the worst. What are we going to do? We can build it together. Biden gets in. He's like, oh, he's doing the new world order, forced vaccinations, ID 2020 chips. Don't worry about it. We can do it together. We just got to opt out. We have the power. It's like you don't see bears and other things governing. They got like their natural law, right? But why are humans always trying to put authority on other people? And that's a really big thing to understand, is authority. Who has authority over you? And I'm not giving my authority to anyone else. So, and I'll cooperate with anyone else, as long as I don't have to bend the knee to you. So, that's the code, and people are usually down with that code, and more people are down with that code because it's cooperative. You want to help that person up. You want to build them up. You want to build up their skills, their house, their understanding, their knowledge, their empowerment. That's what you want to do, right? Most people want to do that. And so the other people are like, no, you got to get down and you got to do this and this and this. You don't want that. And so if people are doing that, just opt out of that. So no matter what happens, we're going to do this, because that's the spirit of humanity. And we got to live that spirit of humanity. And it's going to take the best of us to do that. The best of each individual person to make those choices. And we got this. So I'm going to end it there, because I'm just going to keep ranting. So I will play you out with these awesome chimes. Everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to be all right. enjoy the show, stay informed, get onto new communication networks because that's happening. But stay strong and connect to spirit in your own way. I do believe that there is a universal force guiding all of this, and this is necessary for our evolution as humanity. No matter what happens, I pray it's for the highest evolution. So even if it becomes terrible in whatever way may be, I pray that it's the best thing to get us to the next step. Right. A lot of the guests I've had on my show, they went through crazy traumas and they became the people that they were going to become. And so this is the catalyst for humanity to go to that next level of humility, of tolerance, of cooperation, of beauty, of kindness, of evolution. And we make that choice as individuals. So you just got to make that choice and you'll be all right. You'll be all right. So love you. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you enjoyed the rant. And I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.